Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Yeonni. Bit of a gloomy day today, so I'm hoping to be able to get this video in before the sun goes down. Today I thought it'd be a great time, about time, to do my second year of my PhD program recap. I made one of these videos, I made the first one of this video last year when I finished my first year of the PhD program. It was actually really a great opportunity to kind of sit down and reflect on the last academic year, things that I've learned, things that I'm learning, challenges, successes. So the way that I wrapped it around last year was kind of breaking everything down into roses. So like the highlights, successes, things I'm like really happy about from the last year. The second thing was the thorns. So thorns were like the challenges, really stressful things that happened this past year, and just like things that made the PhD academic year especially difficult. I want to finish off this video as well with talking about the buds. So buds are things that are like growing, right? So lessons learned that I will continue to learn and I'm learning, things I'm looking forward to, kind of looking into the future in a way, things that I want to blossom into as a bud. With all that said, I have a lot to say in this video because it's been quite a year for me, so let's just get straight into it. Alright, so let's start with the roses of the second year of my PhD program. I said this last year as well, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm very proud that I got really great grades this past academic year. In fall 2023 and spring 2024, I got all A's. In the grand scheme of graduate school, grades don't really matter that much, especially in a PhD program. But I do want to kind of pat myself on the back and give myself credit for doing all the work that I needed to do and doing it in a way that kind of gives me like the report card, you know, when you're in grade school, kind of looking at my grades of seeing all the A's. It is nice and it is a win that I want to kind of claim for myself. So I'm very proud that I got all A's this past year. And that kind of goes into the second rose that I want to talk about, which is a little bit cheesy, but me. I think I'm a rose in a way because I'm really, really proud of myself. So when I say academic year, I really am talking about like all of last summer and then also the fall going into this past spring. I faced some of the darkest moments of my life, which we'll get more into when we talk about the thorns. And however, I was able to do what I needed to do and show up. I was able to go to classes, submit assignments, do the presentations, see the clients that I needed to see, be there for friends and be there for colleagues the best that I could. And I am proud of that. I feel like I don't credit myself enough for certain things, but looking back, I am shocked that I was able to get to where I am now at the end of the spring semester with the grades that I got, with all the work that I was able to do, with the wonderful memories that I was able to make with friends and colleagues, even if we were like crying, writing papers until 3 a.m. I'm really proud of myself for having done that. It was such a tough year. So I think I get to call myself a rose for that this year. And then the third rose that I want to talk about is support. I mentioned this in my first year recap video as well. But like I said, this PhD program would not be the same experience if I didn't have the colleagues and the friends that I have in the program currently. Through the ups and downs of my personal life and also professional difficulties, it's been a lot to balance this past year, but truly my colleagues slash friends, they're essentially friends at this point, have come through for me so many times this past academic year, whether it's sending me notes for a class that I couldn't attend because my depression was especially bad that night, or even just like if I have like a conflict professionally, like, hey, I feel like this conflict happened, why did this happen, how do I handle this professionally, and kind of listening to me, helping me process, giving me advice, and also just letting me like be a human being in the academic space, which I really appreciated. That is such a cool thing about my friends in this program, where we can be so silly together, like talking about memes and just joking about like, I don't know, dating, life, whatever. And then like immediately we can switch over to talking about like, I don't know, like intersectionality and social justice, like internalized oppression. I love that so much. It is such a unique space and such a unique like beautiful interactions that I get to have with my colleagues. So that is a huge rose for me again this year, and I do not take that for granted whatsoever. And then last but not least, definitely not the least, but just for the sake of brevity, which I'm not good at, which you already know if you've been on my channel before, the last rose for this last academic year has specifically been being able to do clinical work. The first year of my PhD program, I was not doing any clinical work, so that means I didn't see any patients or clients to do therapy. However, this second year was the first year I was able to see clients through my clinic at our school, and as challenging as things have been at times, just to balance everything that you need to do as a PhD student, it has been such a rose to be able to get back into what I love doing, which is seeing clients. I had and continue to have 3 therapy clients currently, as well as 2 assessment clients. They're kind of different things you have to balance. Therapy clients I've been seeing since September or October. One of them I started in December with them. And then my assessment clients I started in the spring semester. But even though it's different kinds of like therapeutic interactions with people from the community, it's really been grounding to kind of like pull up my sleeves and get back into the clinical world, which I love so much. Now, let's get into the thorns. So the challenges, difficulties, the really stressful things about this past academic year. And honestly, I kind of need to, I think it breaks down into 2 points. So the first one was, it was just a lot of work. Just objectively speaking, when we even like began the program in the fall of 2022, the like more advanced students warned us about year 2, right? So I came into year 2 kind of having an idea of it's going to be the toughest year of the program. There's just a lot to balance, a lot of pressure. So I really appreciated the warning. However, even with the warning, oh my gosh, it was just so much work. It was like at a certain point, I had like 20 deadlines in a span of 2 weeks. So I had to plan and be meticulous, and then going through like depression and like so hard to even get out of bed, and I'm sleeping so much and trying to be a PhD student with all of that. It was just more objective like quantity of work that I had to do this past year. I really feel like I didn't really have many breaks this year. I had to be so intentional about like if I have like 5 tasks on a Friday, and if I really want to have like a 3-day weekend, then I would have to move those 5 tasks from Friday to another day, and then the other day would have like 10 tasks. So I would kind of like die to myself for a day just so I can have a break the next day. And I think I showed this in my previous video, which was my week in the life of a PhD student video, but like there were a few days where I like barely had time to even eat meals because I was just running around from one place to another. And honestly speaking, that really felt like most of the year. Really no breaks whatsoever, or if there is a break, like I said, I have to work so much harder the days before just to carve that time out for like a mental health break. So yeah, so a lot of that like switching that I mentioned last year as well, so much of that, but like dialed to 500 this past year. You're a TA, you're a clinician, you're a student, you're a researcher, you're a doc student, you're a human being. It was just a lot. And then the second, definitely not least, thorns. There's only 2 thorns, but it's mostly because these 2 really just kind of ate up my entire year for me, which was, like I said, all the switching and the like objective quantity of work that I had to do. And then my personal life. Yeah, this was the largest challenge for me this past year. Like I said, I faced some of the darkest moments of my entire life this past year. Summer was pretty bad, and then last fall and winter was really bad. It was really bad. Not only was I contemplating like dropping out of the program, because like I was like, how am I supposed to do all of this when I can barely even like exist? And a lot of like the challenges of that time, I've mentioned it here and there, but it was because of a cataclysmic separation and ultimate end to a 9-year relationship that I was in. And it was something that I didn't see coming, and also I did see coming because I had deluded myself into thinking it was something that was healthy for me, until I found myself wanting to die. And then I was like, oh, this is not good for me. I can no longer lie to myself about how unhealthy this relationship is. So there's just so much readjusting I had to do this past year. Not only like physically readjusting, I had to move. I lived in Brooklyn for a little bit, but then I had to move out of that place, and then I moved up here closer to school, closer to friends, just so I can be safe. And then so physically readjusting to moving, and then like talking to lawyers and like dealing with like the legal world. That was really scary as well. Just really, really scary, especially because as much as I have friends and support here, I don't have family here. My ex was my family for 5+ years, you know? And then just to be left completely alone to deal with everything was really, really difficult. And being a cat mother, you know, I have my 2 kitty cats. I've always taken that really seriously, but I especially took that so seriously during the whole moving thing, just to make sure that I know that I'm taken care of financially, that I have enough saved up. How can I make more money? How can I protect myself and like, you know, keep myself safe just physically, emotionally, mentally, and financially, to make sure that like I can feed myself, I can take care of myself, and also make sure that my cats are taken care of. As funny as this is, it really shouldn't be funny because it's not a good thing to do, but I signed up for pet insurance for my cats under my name before I even signed up for my insurance. My insurance is a whole nother thing that I have to deal with, but at least like the past few months I've been feeling a lot better because I have been really good with saving money, trying to figure out other ways to make money, because I'm a student right now. So going from double income when I was working and my ex was working to single income, and I had hoped that I could lean on my partner during this time while I was in school. Then all of a sudden, having no income whatsoever. I have the stipend from school, but going to a PhD program in New York City, it does not cover rent. It doesn't cover anything. So trying to figure out like FAFSA again. So balancing my personal decline, or I wasn't declining, I don't want to put that on myself, but like my mental health decline because of everything I just mentioned before with my professional life was so tough. The nature of being in a psychology PhD program, especially when you're seeing therapy clients, is that it is so important, or I believe that it is so important for me to take care of my mental health so that I can be the best therapist I can be for my clients. So with all of this happening, imagine me going to see a client, right, and trying to do therapy with them. And the type of therapist that I am, I'm not those that are like, you know, clipboard, so how does that make you feel? Okay, how does that make you feel? There's people like that, and if that's their style, great. That's not me though. I'm very human, authentic. I come off like this in therapy, like a human being sitting in the room. So as I was like internally bleeding from the heartbreak and pain and trauma of coming out of a very abusive relationship that lasted for 9 years, I also needed to put myself out there as a professional, as a therapist, as someone who will create a safe space for my clients. So this is when my supervisor came in so clutch for me. I had to really make sure that I acknowledge my own healing process of, oh, I am bleeding. This is painful. This hurts. There's so much grief. This is traumatic. And also somehow being able to like clench my fists and holding that in and still being authentic while being with clients. And that was so emotionally, mentally taxing for me. And I am just like amazed, honestly, at my ability to have done that. But I can truly sit here and say after close to a year of working with these clients, I really do feel like, even if the behind the scenes was really tough for me, I do really feel like in the therapy space with the work that I was able to do with my clients, I was able to hone a lot of my own internal pain and trauma and grief, being able to hone and feel that into empathy and compassion for my clients, and sitting with them and crying with them and going through what they're going through with them without making it about me. Because that's the whole thing of therapy. It's not about me, it's about my clients. And I just really wanted to make sure that, as graphic as this is, I didn't want to like bleed on them. I wanted to show them that I'm a human being, I'm capable of bleeding and crying and sitting with them in their sadness. However, I didn't want to take away from their pain because of my pain. That's what friends are for. I was, you know, spilling all over my friends this past year, which they took so graciously, and I'm so grateful for it. But the therapy space is not for that. So like I really held myself up to that standard professionally, and I'm proud that I did. But also I'm not gonna sit here and say that was easy. I had to do a lot of active healing. I couldn't really sit and like let myself, feel the pain, feel the grief. Maybe on the weekends, you know, or maybe after sessions. But when I tell you the mental strain it took to prepare for sessions, it was so tough. Balancing the trauma and grief of what I was going through in my personal life with being a professional, especially a professional therapist in the therapy space and actively seeing clients, it was extremely challenging mentally. Like literally I felt like my brain would pulsate at the end of the day just from trying to hold it together, you know, and then at the end of the day I could just let go and cry. But I'm really proud of myself for having done that. And now finally, to finish off the video, I want to talk about the buds. So lessons learned, things I'm looking forward to learning more or understanding more of, and like growth, nurturing, that type of energy is what I'm looking into when I talk about the buds. A major lesson that I had to learn and am learning still on this journey is to trust myself. Leaning into my intuition. I'm not gonna go into all the nit and gritty. Why does that sound so weird? I'm not going to go into all the details of my childhood and how I was raised and how that led to everything that happened in my last relationship and blah, 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 blah. All that to say, so many things happened in my life that led me to question my inner voice, my intuition, believing that I am good enough. You know, that's always been an ongoing struggle for me in any relationship, family, friends, romantic. And so a lesson that I had to learn, especially when I am in this program, is that I need to believe in myself and I need to trust in myself. I need to trust that I am good enough, that I am smart enough, that I am beautiful enough, that I am worthy enough, that I am worth people's time and energy and love. I am worth people's respect. And as easily as that comes for me to believe and say for other people, it is such a challenge for me to believe and say that about myself. At this point of my healing journey, I feel like I have certain days when I do feel those things where I'm like, oh, I feel good about myself today. Or like, oh, I handled that really well. Go you, slay. You know, I can do that. But I know at the baseline of my healing, I really need to continue feeding into that foundation of really trusting in myself and believing in my self-worth. So as I lean into my intuition more and believe in my self-worth and all of this, something that's come up for me a lot in the last year is that my job and things are going well, great. This is who I am. This is how I'm worthy of existing in people's time. And if my relationship felt like it was going well, I would cling on to that. Oh, I'm worthy because I'm in this relationship, because this person told me so. So these things are essentially things that were filling the spaces in my heart that felt empty, you know, where that self-love should be. But I was like, I'm worthy because this person says so. I'm worthy because my career is X, Y, and Z. So at the end of the day, when I felt challenged in the workplace or like things weren't going well, because I tell you the highlights, but I also tell you the difficult things. Like when I was a social worker and I had to move twice and my resume was an absolute mess, you know, I felt awful. And then when it came to my last relationship, when this person would do things or say things that made me feel like I was not worth loving, then I would plummet. If this person says I'm not worthy of love, then oh, I must not be worthy of love. And that was not sustainable. It was just not sustainable. So at this point of my healing journey, as I continue to learn into leaning into my own voice and intuition, I want to ground my identity and self-worth in me. Just because I'm me, not because I'm in a PhD program, not because I have all these career aspirations, not because, I mean, this is gone now, it's gone now, but I still believe in love. If anything, after everything I went through, I believe in a safe and nurturing love for me someday. I believe in that for me, you know? So right now I'm in a space where I'm not really nurturing per se. We'll let that rest for now. I'm still in this program, I'm still working hard, but at the end of the day, I want to really work on myself, on learning to love myself, trust myself, be grounded in myself, that no matter what happens in these other different places, career, relationship, family, whatever, I can stand on my own 2 feet and say, I still love me. I'm worth people's time. I'm worth people's respect. And I know that. Why? Because of all these other things? No, because I'm me. And it feels like I'm starting to get some flavors of that here and there, like I said, and it's so new and exciting to be like, normally I would have reacted this way and that would have led me to spiral, but I just don't care anymore. You know, like when people say things or do things that are hurtful, usually I would always blame myself because that's what I always do. I internalize it must be my fault, which led to lots of bad actors in my life using that and weaponizing that against me because they know it gets to me. Now I'm like, no, I trust myself enough to understand when I've been disrespected, and I will address that appropriately. I can talk to people now and be like, you know, but that doesn't make me feel comfortable, or I don't really like that. And if, like, you know, behaviors don't change and if people still choose to disrespect and make me feel less than, then bye, love you from afar. You know, I do not want to invite or hold on to that type of energy in my life. And so yeah, it's been nice. Not easy, but definitely has gotten easier over the last few weeks and months. It's already June this week, which is wild. Things I'm looking forward to, the future, right? Just so I can freaking finally finish up this video. Summer is still busy. Semester's over, but I'm still working. I actually see my therapy clients and my assessment clients until the end of July, so I'm still seeing them. So that work is still going. I'm also taking summer classes, so I'm trying to get all of my statistics requirements out of the way this summer. Not a math person, never have been. An exciting thing that's coming up this next year is that not only will I be taking many less classes, now that it's the third year of my PhD program, which is wild. 3 out of 5. Isn't that wild? I've already finished 2. And then after the third year, I'll be more than halfway done with my PhD journey. In July, I start externship at a clinic, and I'm so excited because this clinic was my top choice. If right now I'm only seeing 3 therapy clients at this clinic, I will be seeing many more and running groups and just really integrated into this workspace as their psychology extern. And I'm so excited to really just go back into the workspace and be with coworkers, and it'll be like a very gradual transitioning out of the program, which makes sense why they designed it that way. So less classes, but more clinical work, and still doing lab stuff and supporting my mentor and advisor, who has been so supportive and incredible human being, just a gem of a human being all throughout my journey here in my PhD program. But yeah, next year should be, I don't want to say chill, but more chill than this last year was. So I am proud of myself for having gotten through year 2 of my PhD program, the toughest year of the program, and it's behind me. I cannot believe we're here. I truly cannot believe we're here. Toughest year of the program, toughest year of my life, of course. Bloop. But what can you do? You just get back up. You know, I was crying last night. I'm up this morning, put on a lot of makeup, trying to clean the apartment, film a video. I'm gonna go get dinner with a friend. I feel so blessed at the end of the day. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have not yet, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I am going to keep making videos. I know my schedule hasn't been the most existent. There is no schedule, sorry, but you know, I come back, and if you want to see more updates from me that are more like regular and routine, I would recommend following me on Instagram. It's the same handle, hi.yeonni. I'm on there quite often, maybe a bit too much, honestly. But I want to make more videos now that I'm kind of coming out of my very depressed stage. I'm leaning into my intuition, right? Leaning into my voice and leaning into doing things that fill me with joy and make me feel like me, and YouTube is one of those as well. So I'm going to try to do more of these. I hope you have been and you are continuing to take care of yourselves emotionally, mentally, physically, in all of those very important ways, and I will see you in the very next video. Bye!